So let's talk about two of my most favorite and most used lenses for professional work for the FujiX system. So you've got the Tamron 17 to 70 and the Sigma 18 to 50. Both standard zooms for FujiX, and you might be wondering, why do I own both? I've done a past video on this, so I don't really want to go back into the same, talk about comparing them, etc. But that video was almost 2 years ago. So at this point, I've got even more use out of both of these. They're still both in my lineup and can validate that both of these have a place in your kit, especially if you're a professional, because now you have backups and somewhat of a redundancy. Not quite, but they do cover a range of focal lengths, which, is a value for someone who's doing an event or something once in a lifetime where you can't worry about changing lenses, or you don't want to carry two different cameras with two different lenses on it, which I used to do. I used to be more of a prime only person, and although I still prefer a prime overall as a photographer, that would only suit me in my own personal work or in the studio where I have control of everything that's happening. But out in the field where you're doing something like a wedding, a birthday party, event, a corporate event, things like that, where you don't actually know the order of things, what's going to happen, what's your actual all your subjects that you're going to be shooting, it makes sense to shoot with a zoom lens. And that's why, 24 to 70s, in the full frame world are such a popular, highly sought after and highly used lens that even for crop sensors, these two lenses, which cover a similar focal length, are going to be very, popular and something that you should have. So what's the difference? Obviously, right off the bat, you got a size difference and you got a focal length difference. Other than that, the bigger difference is that this larger lens, the Tamron, has image stabilization and the Sigma lens does not. So where these two in my book place them is that this is my prime lens alternative. So in a case where I would carry, say, the 23 f2, 50 f2, or 16 28 35 f2, I carry usually primes in pairs. I always pair lenses, in twos. This would be an alternative to carrying, two lenses. I would carry just this one. So that would be my use case for this. So this would even be, although I use this professionally, and I do use it professionally, this is also a lens I would use personally. So if I'm doing, for instance, yesterday I went to my daughter's Christmas show at her school, and I used this lens to video some of the events of the day, as well as takes photos with it. I didn't want to obviously carrying more than one lens for personal work, especially in situations where it's not going to be that long, it's not needed. So I just chose this, took the XS10, and I was able to do everything I needed. Now, for the Tamron, for instance, it's a bigger lens. I'm never going to use this personally. You know, for my personal work, I don't want to carry things that are large, right? I prefer a smaller lens, a smaller camera, compactness and being kind of out of the way, but still accomplishing the goal of documenting what I want to document is paramount, right? So this is not a lens I would choose. This would be definitely I consider this my pro workhorse lens. It has image stabilization, it has the longer reach, and it's a bigger lens. So when I'm doing something where I'm getting paid to do it, obviously I don't mind carrying something bigger because it's going to do the job, it's going to cover what I need, and it's there for the purpose of doing professional work. So that's what this is for. So this is where the differences in my book come into play. This can be used for professional and personal work. I prefer to not use this personally. So that's where owning both of these makes the most sense. And so, yeah, that's it. Other than that, the image quality on both are great. I have no issues with it. I shot, actually in a wedding day over the summer. I used both of these lenses. My wife had her camera with this on it, and I had my camera with this lens on it. And that's why we tag teamed the whole event, and we were able to get the redundant coverage that you should have at a wedding. And that's why I own both, because although most of the time I shoot solo and I can get away with just this or using primes for portraits or being in the studio, for an event where I need a second shooter and I have, all my own equipment, my wife and I have this business, she's going to be my second shooter, and she prefers to use this with the XS10. And I use this with the XT2 and a battery grip. So still going strong with these, still loving these lenses. I think these are the best bang for buck for any Fuji shooter who's shooting professional and personal and event work and weddings and things like that. So still using these, but I'm still a prime guy. So let me know your thoughts. Are you still using it? Are you interested in these lenses? And want to know the differences and any questions, let me know. That's all I got. Peace.